Inravio.com.
Larson, you're watching the 505 on Racing Show and the Inravio TV network. Welcome. Welcome to another night of race talk on a Monday. And I hope everybody had a nice Memorial Day weekend. But we know that the show was not aired due to the Memorial Day holiday. Hoping that family and friends would go visit family and friends and spend some time together. Although that weekend was one of the biggest race weekends of the year, watching the Indy 500, the Formula One race, and the Coca-Cola 600 out of Charlotte. It was a long day at racing that Sunday. And unfortunately, we don't do a show on the following Monday to discuss it. So we may take a look at that in the future about what to do with that. But anyway, NASCAR announced their 2019 inductees in the NASCAR Hall of Fame located in Charlotte, North Carolina. And in no particular order, Alan Kawickley, who we all remember as the 1992 Monster Energy NASCAR Cup champion. He was also the NASCAR Rookie of the Year in 1986. And in 1992, as I said, the Cup champion. He was named to NASCAR's top 50 drivers in 1998, and he died tragically in 1993. 5 years before his election into the top 50 drivers of all time. And a lot of people wonder, why Alan Kawicki? What did he do that was so great? Well, what he did that was so great is he started a team with no major sponsorship and showed up. In fact, in '92, on the front panel of his race car, on the grill there, the rules said you had to have the car in there. If it was a Monte Carlo or a Thunderbird or whatever it may have been. Well, he got permission from NASCAR to call it the Underbird because he was the underdog. Nobody ever expected him to take down that championship. So, in my opinion, a well-deserved choice for the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Our next person that's going in is Roger Penske. Roger Penske is a team owner, and he's not only a NASCAR team owner, he's also an IndyCar team owner, amongst other things, in owning and building racetracks. He has multiple championships over his 50-year career in racing. So Roger Penske, well-deserved. And I always say, to put a person into the Hall of Fame after they've passed on, they don't get that feeling. They don't enjoy it. Maybe their family does, and some people say, oh, it's long overdue. And I'm not saying anything about Alan Kawicki. He died much too young. Roger Penske has been in the sport, like I said, for 50 years. And he's the only person that's been involved in a sport for 50 years. So congratulations to Roger Penske. Jack Roush, another one that's a team owner that's inducted. Jack's got five National Series championships. And I had the opportunity to talk with him on multiple occasions. In fact, I'll share a little story. I was at, I believe it was Martinsville, and Jack Roush was walking around. You can't miss him because he wears that hat that's in that picture. And I went over, I says, Jack, would it be all right? Do you have time? Can I take a picture with you? He says, absolutely. So he stands there, he puts his arm around me, and we both smile, and my friend takes the picture, and Jack goes, don't move. He goes up to my friend, whips it in the ear, and comes back, and he's laughing. He goes, all right, let's do this again. So, okay, we'll get two pictures. Well, I thanked him, we shook hands, wished him well, then off he went. And I said, what was that all about? And my friend said that they had their finger over the lens cover. Use a traditional camera back then. We didn't use iPhones. And it was kind of funny when the picture came out. It looked really nice. So I always thanked him every chance I got, and he smiles and laughs. So Jack Roush, a deserving car owner. Jeff Gordon. Now let's go with Davey Allison. I'm sorry. Davey Allison. Davey Allison, he was a driver, the son of NASCAR Hall of Famer Bobby Allison. He was the winner of 19 races driving for the Ford Whelen team that was very successful over the years. 19 races, and he won the 1992 Daytona 500. And his best race, according to him, the best race he ever had, you would think it would be the win at Daytona. However, it was not. It was finishing second to his dad at Daytona. 1-2 finish. And he joked about it in post-race interviews saying, 1-2 finish with the Allisons. I was hoping that me first and Dad second. But later on in years, he said that had to be the most thrilling race he's ever been in. And think about that. Think about doing something with your dad, or your mom even, and having that kind of success where you finish 1-2. And wow, I can't even imagine that feeling. So, Davey Allison was great for the sport. He was an ambassador of the sport at a young age. And unfortunately, that young age, he died in a helicopter crash in 1993, going to Talladega for a test session. But Davey Allison, a good name, good family, and nice to see that guys like Davey are getting into the Hall of Fame. Good-looking kid, I'll tell you what. I never met Davey Allison, but from what I've read and what I've seen, he was the most friendliest guy in the garage area on any given Sunday. Jeff Gordon, next and final inductee to 2019's NASCAR Hall of Fame. Driver, Jeff Gordon, his name speaks for itself. He was in an era where he changed the way we looked at race car drivers. Came on board 1992, Richard Petty's last year. His first race was the last race in the 92 season in the Cup Series. And the Rainbow Warriors, his pit crew even had a name. Came out of sprint car racing. He was the youngest driver to win a modern day era Premier Series race at the age of 24. He had 3 championships, and he was a 3-time Daytona 500 winner. Jeff Gordon now is in the announcer's booth, and a lot of people say that these former drivers in the announcer's booth really, they're not what they were back when you had guys who just announced, and that's what they did when you look back at the, Musker, and and the guys from CBS, his name just escaped me. But when you look at that, you look at all these former drivers transitioning into announcing. They're still in the sport. They're still involved. The knowledge that race car drivers or former race car drivers have is incredible. And I say that because some of the announcers, and you look at Eli Gold, who was the radio announcer for NASCAR, and when you look at him, he's got knowledge of the sport, of the history. However, he doesn't have that knowledge behind the wheel of a race car, why something happens. Yeah, he sorted out and learned about it over the years, as did many of the announcers from the old days. When you look at ABC's Wide World of Sports, when they had Chris Economaki, Keith Jackson, Jackie Stewart, who was a former Formula One driver, was doing some announcing. And when you look at some of these guys over the years, now you watch TV and, wait, these guys raced. And you wonder, some of them got out of racing because it was too time consuming. It was, maybe their bodies couldn't take it anymore. But I'll tell you what, I've gone to racetracks as a media person, and at the end of the day, because you're running around all day long, chasing interviews, getting information, I think that was more tiring than driving. But anyway, I'm willing to bet over the years, as time goes by, that we'll have more former race car drivers announcing, and that Hall of Fame is going to start recognizing the unsung heroes that are in the TV booths and on the radio booths. Just like the Major League Hall of Fame, Baseball Hall of Fame, they started recognizing announcers like Phil Rizzuto. Never got in as a player, and he was a darn good ball player for the Yankees in the 40s and the 50s, but he got into the Hall of Fame as an announcer. And I'm thinking that's going to be the same with auto racing and NASCAR. And speaking of Hall of Fame, like I said, a lot of people do not necessarily agree with some of the choices that go into this Hall of Fame. And you see these polls on social media, what about this one? What about that one? How come this guy's in and that guy is not? And, let's face it, folks, there isn't too many modified drivers, NASCAR modified drivers in there. Yeah, you have Jerry Cook and Richie Evans, but people are looking at Mike Stefanik, one of the winningest drivers in NASCAR between the old Busch North series and the modifieds, and I tried to explain to somebody, this is what happens. The people who nominate the potential people, the candidates, some of them don't even know what a modified is. Some of them haven't even watched the modified race. So for them to say, we should put in Mike Stefanik, they don't even know who Mike Stefanik is. Modified racing is predominantly in the Northeast, a little bit in the South. Modifieds, or they call them tour-type modifieds. You go out west, Midwest, North, South, it's dirt track racing, not a lot of NASCAR stuff. So their modified guys, they know. But the NASCAR modified guys, they don't know. And when you look at the K&N Pro Series, a lot of those guys are only in that series for a year or two to hone their skills before they move into the Truck Series, the X-Finity Series, and the Cup Series. It's a development program to the team owners, in my opinion. So yeah, those guys will probably move on, but modified guys get overlooked. And when you have your nominating committee and they nominate all these names, then you're going to vote again for the final guys. The modified guys get overlooked. And I wouldn't be upset to see a separate, maybe modified Hall of Fame, housed somewhere in the Northeast, because that's where we're predominant. And even if it starts out as in a little room in a little building, I wouldn't be adverse to that. I think that should be good. I think, because no matter what Hall of Fame you're in, whether you're in your high school Hall of Fame, whether you're in your town sport Hall of Fame, or your county sport Hall of Fame, or your state Hall of Fame, or just some club on Long Island that's happened to have a Hall of Fame for the last 40 years, that's an honor. That is an honor to be put into a Hall of Fame and to get your plaque and have your name go up on the wall somewhere. And anybody who says it's not, well, it's only this or it's only that, I'll tell you what, I've emceed a lot of SAFER banquets, and SAFER is the Suffolk Association Figure 8 Racing. It's been around since the 60s. And they have a Hall of Fame in honor of the late, great Ernie Maynor, who died in a crash, in a Figure 8 crash at Ice of Sweebay back in the early 80s. And I've handed out some of these Hall of Fame plaques. And you see these guys come up, and I'm talking some rough and tumble type of guys, and some meek and quiet guys as well, guys who you've never seen any emotion out of. There's tears in their eyes when you give them the plaque. And they look at it and they stare at it and make sure it's real. And I was just talking to a Hall of Fame member for the SAFER Hall of Fame this past Saturday. And we were talking, his name is Rick Swanson. He's been around forever, ISA, Riverhead, as a driver and a crew chief. He's a crew chief on 3 championship cars. I couldn't even tell you how many wins he has. But we were talking about that. We were talking about this Hall of Fame thing. And he's the guy, he walks around with a video camera. He's always videotaping. And he was videotaping the Hall of Fame announcements at the annual Safer banquet. And you watch his tape. I watched his tape, and we were talking about how he was sitting there, and he was on me with the camera, and I'm talking about the next guy, and he's not really listening because he's watching. And then I said, no, final inductee is Rick Swanson. And the camera just went down to the table, and he walked up and got his plaque. So whether it's the NASCAR Hall of Fame or a little local Hall of Fame, it's an honor to be inducted. It's an honor to be in. And when you're recognized by your peers, there's no greater honor than that. There's no greater honor. And I can't explain that feeling. I am a member of the Ernie Main Memorial Safer Hall of Fame, and maybe not for my actions as a driver. I know they weren't for that, but it was some of the stuff I did after, and I'm very proud of that. So anyway, we're going to take a break, and we come back. We're going to go over the results from Pocono for the Cup and X-Finity series when we come back.
Hey, I was going to say what's up for some reason. Hey, we're Set It Up, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE, your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi there, this is Buddy from Less Than Jake, and you are listening to Inravio TV. You're probably watching it too.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. All right, the top two series were at the Pocono International Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania this past weekend. And Pocono's always a weird place of weather in the spring race, because after all, it is the beginning of June and it's still spring. Between the rain and the fog, but they got it in. They got it in. There was some doubt as the days coming up to the event were coming. And there was even talk about just come on Monday. But the weather held up and they made it happen. So it was a good race. So the Cup Series race, Martin Truex was the winner there. Very, very happy guy in victory lane. Kyle Larson second, Kyle Busch third. It looked like he was running away with it. Kevin Harvick, the same thing, fourth. Brad Keselowski was fifth. Ryan Blaney sixth. Eric Almirola seventh. Jimmy Johnson was eighth. Joey Logano ninth. And Chase Elliott rounding out the top 10. The next Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series event will be held in Michigan this upcoming weekend, so look forward to that. The Xfinity Series was at Pocono as well. In the Xfinity Series, we have Kyle Busch taking on a win in that race. Chase Elliott second. Daniel Hemrick was third. Austin Cindric was fourth. Cole Custer fifth. Elliott Sadler sixth. John Hunter Nemechek seventh. Paul Menard was eighth. Tyler Reddick ninth. Ryan Truex rounding out the top 10 there. Kurt Busch's car failed post-race tech. The left front was too high. Now, I when I see stuff like that, I'm like, these cars go through a laser prior to the event. Why wasn't it too high prior to the event? There's just so much you could jack down and jack up on bolts in the suspension that, come on, it looks like to me that NASCAR is over-policing these cars and the events. And when you look at that, when like a loose lug nut after the race is over, you know, yeah, for anybody who's raced or even worked on the car, you know what, they may come loose. There's a lot of pressure and torque on these wheels. And the fines that they hand out, now this is going to be a level 1 penalty, and I'm sure it'll be a dockage of points and money. But when they're fining crew chiefs $50,000 for infractions, you know, for the penalties, now I got to wonder how much crew chiefs are being paid to make $50,000 in fines and be able to pay it. And the fine money, you know, a lot of people over the years thought, well, that money goes into the point for, no, it doesn't with NASCAR. I found out, I did some research. The fines that are collected in the Premier Series, and that's the Cup, the Xfinity, and the Campbell Truck Series, that fine money goes into the NASCAR's fund, the NASCAR Foundation. Now, yes, that money goes to worthy causes and it helps people along the way. But does that mean that NASCAR gets that write-off for the donation? Or does the guy who wrote the check get the, because I'm sure he or she is making that check out to NASCAR. He's not making it out to the NASCAR Foundation. Something that needs to be taken a look at. Just my opinion, because NASCAR should be about racing, and when a driver or a crew chief or a team owner pushes the envelope, NASCAR needs to seal that envelope. But I'll tell you what, you know, the penalties and the fines are handed out as a deterrent, so you don't do that again. But you're seeing the same penalties being handed out week after week, race after race. And this is the first time I heard that, you know, the left front was too high. And that's all NASCAR. They didn't say the frame was too high. They didn't say the fender was too high. They didn't say the bumper. The left front was too high. Now, there's a lot of ways you could fix that real quick. You get some air out of the tire, and it's going to come down. You know, I'm just saying. But anyway, and it seems like they're going after the same guys over and over again. I don't know. That needs to be taken a look at. The Campbell World Truck Series was off. They race again this coming Friday night. They will be at Texas, where the Xfinity and the Cup Series will be at Michigan. So Michigan, a fast 2-mile racetrack. In fact, that's the racetrack that Ernie Irvan suffered a head trauma, and it ended his career. his race career. He attempted a couple of races after that, but for the most part, head trauma is not a good thing, folks. It's not a good thing. And when you think about, you're going 150, 60, 180, 200 miles an hour, and you hit the wall, and the car stops, everything inside your body is still going 180 miles an hour. And it takes that sudden stop, your brain goes crashing against the front of your skull, your internal organs bounce off your chest. It's not good. Your legs lift up, your arms go forward. Ernie Irvan, he just wasn't right for a little while after that, but Michigan's a fast place, a fast racetrack. And it's always interesting to watch a race there. And we'll see what happens this weekend. It's not like the Talladega where you're waiting for the big one. Michigan is just a fast place, and it seems like the cars are spread out there. I don't know why, but it just does. It just does seem that way. But like I said again, these penalties that are being handed out, man, oh man, oh man. You want to take point, but these fines are being a little ridiculous. And when you look at the top 3 series, these $25,000 and $50,000 fines. I don't see any of that in the touring series. So why is that? Is it because the touring series, when I say the touring series, it's the modifieds, the K&M Pro, the Canadian series, they call it the Pinty series now, NASCAR Euro, NASCAR Mexico. You don't hear about fines there. So what's happening in those series, the touring series? Is it that the crew chiefs and the owners aren't as creative? Or is it that the NASCAR officials on those series aren't looking that hard? I don't know. I'm not saying that they're not working hard, but why are there no penalties handed out that are published in that series? And I'm going to tell you, in all the races that I did on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, I was involved with one penalty that was big. The driver got a win taken away, and I believe it was at Stafford, and it was Todd Zegedy. And I know I've told this story, but that's the only person I know. And I've done a few hundred NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour events as an official. And that was the only one that I know of, because what we did a pre-race tech, if something was wrong, fix it. Fix it before you come over the scales for time trials. There's no, all right, let's wait till the end of the race, take the wheel. No, there was none of that. And some days we went over those cars like with a fine-tooth comb. So I don't understand why those guys aren't cheating or those officials aren't catching anything. I don't understand that. Maybe they're just so honest, I don't know. But anyway, K&M Pro Series. Oh no, I didn't do the modifieds. The modified results. We'll do the modified jokes and jokes, wow. The modified results and the K&M Pro Series we're taking about. Justin Bonsignor had the win there. Chase Dowling was second. Justin was on the pole for that. Matty Hirschman was third. Rowan Pinnock fourth. Ron Silk was fifth. Ronnie Williams sixth. Timmy Solomino was seventh. Tommy Catalano eighth. Dave Sapienza ninth. And Craig Lutz rounding out the top 10. And I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. I remember when the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour was known tongue-in-cheek by a different name. And guys who raced in it from Long Island were considered the Wrong Island Gang because they didn't stand a break with the officials at the time, the head tech guy. And there was only a couple. The late Tom Baldwin was one from the beginning. J.R. Bertuccio, who was a Riverhead champ back in 2002, was a Long Island guy. And then let me tell you, they broke his shoes unmercifully. And then all of a sudden, guys started coming. Kevin Goodale, the brother of Eric Goodale, who's still successfully running on the tour. They came. Kenny Hagee came. Dave Sapienza, Justin Bonsignor, Ron Silk when he ran for Eddie Partridge, Ryan Priest when he ran for Eddie Partridge, or Eddie and Connie Partridge, I should say. Ronnie Williams is running a car owned by a Long Island Joe Bertuccio. And like I said, Sapienza and Craig Lutz, tearing it up. These guys, a third of the teams on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour are from Long Island, and that says something for the modified racing on Long Island. You know, and they always say if you could run at Riverhead, you could run anywhere, and it's listed as a quarter mile, but if you measure it, it's a fifth. So anyway, and that's not even that's the outside. But anyway, right now Justin Bonsignore is the points leader, followed by Craig Lutz is third, Timmy Salamino fourth, and Rob Summers rounding out the top five in the points then. And the K&N Pro Series East was at the Memphis International Raceway in Tennessee, and we had Ruben Garcia Jr. was the winner there. Tyler Ackram was second, Tyler Dipple third, Chase Cabaret was fourth, Ronnie Bassett was fifth, Dylan Bassett was sixth, Ryan Vargas is seventh, Colin Garrett eighth, Anthony Alfredo was ninth, and Marcus Gomes rounding out the top 10. Their next event will be at the New Jersey Motorsports Park on June 16th. It should be an interesting day. Anyway, we're going to take a break, and we come back. We'll have a quick look at the NHRA Route 66 Nationals that were held in Illinois this past weekend, and some other NASCAR racing news when we come back.
Hi, I'm Remington.
I'm Emerson.
And I'm Sebastian.
We're Palais Royale, and you're watching Inravio TV.
There we go.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, this is Chris Less Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE, your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi, this is Mike Jarecki from My Race News, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. For those who are in the chat room, I thank you. Those who are watching online, I thank you. And those that are watching on Facebook Live, I thank you. I see there's a bunch of people going through there. So invite your friends, let them know we're here. I think social media is the best way to catch us. But whatever works for you, however you want to view us, as long as you're viewing, that's all that matters. Anyway, the NHRA was at the Route 66 Nationals in Illinois. Drag part is part of the Chicagoland Speedway. It's right there. And what we had there is Clay Milligan took down the honors in the top fuel. We had Robert Height in the funny car, and we had Jay Coughlin Jr. in the Pro Stock, and Matt Smith, the Pro Stock motorcycle. I was watching it on and off over the weekend, and John Force, who's older than dirt when it comes to this funny car stuff, in qualifying, hit the wall a ton. And he hit it broadside. Car got a little squirrely, bam, and he hit it 3 times. And in an interview, he was saying he was fine, he was a little sore, but you know when a person smiles and the eyes aren't smiling? He was hurting. And watching him, they had a camera on him, watching him get into the car. He got in very gingerly. He got out very gingerly. And those things aren't designed and built to hit the wall. And he hit in such a way that you know, his whole side just got all messed up. So I hope he's feeling good. He didn't qualify for the event, and I don't know if that's because he was hurting or he just had a little mishap coming off the line because he bobbled. He bobbled a little bit. And, you know, you got to be on your game. I've never drove one of these things, but I've sat in one. Thanks to John Casale. I've sat in one. But I couldn't imagine, because, you know, there's only a couple of bars here, a couple of bars there, bam, you hit, you know, you're going to be hurting. But anyway, I hope he's feeling better, you know, as the week progresses on. And speaking of drag racing, Long Island Needs a Drag Strip was at their car show / rally this past Tuesday night. For those on Long Island, you know, check it out. It's insane, the number of cars, the number of people walking around. They moved the venue. It is now held at the Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church in Patchogue on Route 83, which is North Ocean Avenue, just, when I say just, north of Sunrise Highway. If you come off Sunrise Highway and you go up 83, it's right there. And it's held in the back. There's plenty of room. There's food, there's beverage, there's ice cream. And who could not resist a vanilla ice cream cone when you're walking around looking at these cars? And I get to see some of the folks, you know, some who raced that I raced with. I got the opportunity to sit with Al Wagner, who has a beautiful, I believe it's a 56 Chevy, beautiful car. And we sit there and we talk, and you talk about racing. And I'll tell you what, you know, those who never race or never involved with racing, when you start talking racing, we could talk racing for hours. And then you start with, oh, remember that guy, remember this, remember that. And you just sit there and you talk and talk and talk, and then the hours go by. But, you know, Long Island needs a drag strip, and it does. It really does, and they're working on it. They're closer than everybody thinks to having this happen. However, the powers to be and in the discussions I've been involved with, we're not going to say where it's going to be. We're not going to say where we're planning it. Because as soon as we let out where we're looking to build it and try to get the permits in place and whatever meetings and stuff we have to go through, once it gets out, you're going to have those people that are going to say, not in my backyard. And they're going to rally up. They're going to bring people who don't even live in that area to meetings. Oh, we don't want this. We don't want this. And I'll tell you what, you know, we've done some studies. I was involved with the drag strip that we tried to put in Calverton as part of the motorsports complex with an oval track. I was involved with the planning for the racetrack, or again, a motorsports complex in Yaphank. And in each and every case, in Yaphank, we got beat out by housing, and the housing didn't get built. And in Calverton, we got beat out by an indoor ski slope. That ski slope was never built. Those people were bankrupt before they even got approved. And so this next place that we're looking at, it's gonna, by the time I think everything comes into place, the people who wanna fight it won't have time to do that because they're being quiet about this. I know approximately where it is, and I'm not gonna say you could beat me, you could drug me, you could give me truth serum. I'm not telling you because I don't want people to try to fight this thing. And the economic impact that a race facility will bring to the area, and they get the NHRA sanctioning and backing, and when you look at the number of people and the number of cars that show up at these car shows, I'll call them, and if only half of them go to this racetrack that when it's built, if only half of them show up, it's a home run. And when you have Congress taking a look at it, and I'm not just talking about your local town councilman, I'm talking about congressmen talking about this and looking at and doing studies for the economic impact of something that's going to operate 1 day a week, probably 5 months out of the year. It's incredible. And we were talking about that. I was talking about with some of the people that are involved. And you know, aside from the ticket sales and the tax from the tickets going to the county and the state and the towns, if so be, the surrounding economics get a shot in the arm. The local stores, the mom and pop delicatessen, the bagel shops, the coffee shops, the gas stations, not so much for the racing fuel, however, it would behoove them to maybe carry some, but for the people going, for the hotels in the area. Hotel space is very limited on Long Island, especially in the summer. But think about this. Think about all these out-of-state teams that they're not going to get up at 3 in the morning, get to Long Island, race, be there till, if they're having a good day and they've made it through each bracket, go, it's 11 o'clock at night, and then they're going to drive 3-4 hours home. No, they're going to stay overnight or stay the night before, one or the other. You're going to get one hotel room at least out of all the teams. So when you look at the economic impact, plus the jobs, the seasonal jobs that it would be there, a college guy or gal who loves racing and wants to work at the racetrack, one day a week, they probably make enough money, you know, to at least go out and enjoy themselves or have a car or something. I don't mean a race car, because once you have a race car, you don't have money. That goes kind of hand in hand. Like Junior Johnson said, the best way to end up with $1 million in racing is to start with $2 million. But it's something that needs to happen. And yeah, we have oval track racing on Long Island, and thanks to Eddie and Connie Partridge at the Riverhead Raceway, who purchased it from people who really weren't race people. They were just looking to make a buck. And you know, the weather's been kind of crazy for the racing in the Northeast, actually on the East Coast. But you know what? They still make it happen. They still make it happen. And I had the opportunity this past Saturday night to go to our local racetrack, Riverhead Raceway. And I'll tell you what, I stayed away pretty much and kept a low profile for a long time, you know, for many, many reasons I won't go into. And some of the things that I suggested to the old regime when I was the head official there, you know, and it was going to save race cars, it was going to make the racing a little bit better. You know, the handicap now, and what handicapping is, folks, not that you're handicapped and you can't walk, God forbid. It's how you line up the cars. And it used to be, it was based on money earned, and yeah, you want to win races, but you go win a race and you're starting in the back next week. You're starting in the back. And you got to beat and bang your way to the front, because some of the slower guys or inexperienced guys and gals are in the front. And I tried to explain, you know, if you handicap the heat races or qualifying races, and then how they finish in their feature, that's how you're lining them up. Well, I'll tell you what, that's, in essence, that's what's being done at the local racetrack. And what I see is, what I don't see, let me start with that first. What I don't see is wrecked race cars. Nobody's stuffing anybody into the wall because they're faster than them and they can't get by them because they drive the straightaway like it's an S-turn. And it's just better racing. I watched the late model race this past Saturday night where it was 3 wide to the finish for like the last lap. 3 wide, and you know what's funny? They didn't touch. They rubbed, but they didn't touch. Nobody was trying to wreck somebody for the checker flag. A couple of races went that way. Good, hard racing. Some people will say, the way they start, the way they finish. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Is it hard to pass somebody when you're equal? Yeah, it is, especially on a track like that. But you know what? That's racing. And you're not tearing up equipment. Costs a lot of money to put it back. Trust me, I know, as a driver and a car owner. It costs a lot of money to fix these cars. So if you can keep them clean and make the racing better, man, they're doing a nice job there. And I'll tell you what, you know, I'm looking forward to going back and seeing some good, hard, clean racing again. Because that's been missing there for, I'm going to say 10 years. At least 10 years, maybe more. Because it wasn't like that. The fast guy has to start in the back. And when there were competitive fields, I can remember a guy, he ran one of the and I hate to call it an entry level, but it's not, one of the lesser class divisions. And he was the track champion that year. And there were 40 cars, 40 or more cars. And because he was always finishing up front, he had to start in the back. Well, they have, you know, a lot of cars in heat race, and he started last, and he didn't qualify one night. He didn't make it. And you're like, whoa, here's a guy that's like, at the time, in the top 5 in points, and at a 40-some-odd cars, and he didn't qualify. Well, it turns out a lot of guys that were in that position didn't qualify because they had to come from the back all the time. And when they did make the show, and which was mostly always, they had to start. They were starting 18th, 19th, and 20th. And when you try to pass on a track that's advertised as a quarter mile, it's tough to do. It's really tough to do. So, you know, I like that. I like watching these time trial shows. There's no redraw. You just go racing. I love it. I love it. No cars are getting torn up and nothing's getting wrecked and nobody's getting hurt, and that's important. Anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about some NASCAR rule news and whatever else that comes into my mind when we come back.
Hey guys, this is Jibs from Ocean's 8, Alaska, and you're watching Inravio TV Network.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Mark Whelen. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you're a punch in the But if you have this bracelet from Inravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
What's up, guys? This is Assuming We Survive, and you're watching Inravio TV Network.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. It's all good. I'm having a good time today. Having a great time, and it's what else? You know, racing season's here. I'm watching races, and it's funny. I went there one night, and when I say there, to Riverhead Raceway, and I went as a fan. I bought a ticket at the ticket window. I went and sat in the grandstands, middle of the backstretch, and I got to tell you, you know, so many people came up to me and said, "Hey, hello, what are you doing? How come you're here?" You know, and that made me feel good. It was good to know that you're still remembered. And I remember when I was back there as the head guy, you know, people weren't coming to me saying, "How you doing?" And people were coming up to me and saying, "I'll meet you in the parking lot." But anyway, you know, we have some good memories. I have some awesome memories. I have some not so awesome ones too. But, you know, being in the stands with people, and I get a kick out of, case in point, there was a couple of guys behind me, and one guy's asking questions, maybe his first time there, I don't know, who knows, but he was asking questions of his friend, and his friend was giving him the wrong answers. I wanted so desperately to turn around and give him the right one, but you know what, it was two buddies, they were obviously two buddies, you know, hanging out, watching the races, but you see a lot of that, and I walked by there the last time I was there, and you see the same people in the same seats because that's their spot. I wonder whose spot I took. I mean, the weather's been pretty lousy, so you know they're not getting the attendance that they're looking for. But you know, once the weather gets warm and school's over, that place is going to be jamming. Let me tell you. But you know, like I said, I went there as a fan. I went and I ate the food. I had some adult cocktails. I looked into souvenirs. And the food, you know, I saw on social media a lot of people complaining about the food. Yo, time out. I've gone to hockey arenas in New York. I've gone to Yankee Stadium, Citi Field, the Meadowlands down in Jersey, and it's like $9.50 or $10.75 for a beer. You know, you get a hot dog, it's like $10. I'm like, no, not at the racetrack. It wasn't. The pricing is fair, the portions are good. And you know, when you see a lot of people coming back with trays of food, you know that A, it's reasonably priced, and B, it's good. And there's always that one or two, I'm gonna call them fence-grabbing complainers who just want to complain, you know, on social media. It's that, you know, somebody who hasn't been there or hasn't bought the food, who's thinking of going and not going. And I'm not talking just here in Long Island. I'm talking in Connecticut, you know, at Stafford, at Seekonk, at Thompson. I'm talking about upstate New York where they go racing, even the dirt tracks. I'm talking down in New Jersey. You got Wall, and you got the New Jersey, you know, Motorsports Park. You know, Pennsylvania, the tracks there. It's always a couple of people who want to be negative on social media. And you know, my mother always told me, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And if you don't have anything nice to say about it, don't say nothing. And I'll tell you what, if you don't like the food, don't go on social media. If they made you a thing wrong, don't go on social media. Go to the office. Go to the concession manager. Hey, you know, by the way, I ordered this and I wanted, you know, ketchup and you put mustard. I ordered this. I ordered plain pizza. You gave me pepperoni. Go back to the concession stand if you had a problem. Don't go on social media. Social media is going to kill this country. Let me tell you, because the negativity on social media, not just with racing, with everything, you know, politics. And I don't talk politics because I have my own views on politics and haven't been involved in politics early in life, and you know, and I see what goes on, and I see what happens, or saw, I should say. But the same thing's happening in racing. And I can remember a couple of years ago reporting on this show about a racetrack owner who closed his track because he couldn't even go to church with his family on Sunday without being harassed by a disgruntled fan. It's not right, folks. You know, keyboard warriors, somebody wrote today about, you know, a guy was complaining about something that went on in a race. Keyboard warriors. I call them fence grabbers. You're on the outside looking, you're holding in, you're holding onto the fence, looking in. You know? No. Go to the promoter, go to the owner, go to the track operator, go to the concession manager. You have a problem. Don't go to blast on social media. Because now what's going to happen is people are going to see, oh, I can't go there. Oh, I'm not going to eat that food. I'm not going to go. The race took so long. No, it didn't. Come on. You know, and most of these people just, I don't know, they're not good. They're not good people. Anyway, speaking of weekly racing series tracks, according to Race Day, Connecticut, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup former champion Kevin Harvick has expressed his desire to race at the Stafford Motor Speedway in Connecticut. I'll tell you what, he does that and they promote that, and I'm not even going to say right. They just got to say he's coming. They'll be falling out of the place. It'll be so packed. Falling out of the place because Kevin Harvick remembers his roots. And not only does he remember his roots, he walks the talk, because Kevin Harvick, as I announced on this show not too long ago, he became a contingency sponsor at the Stafford Motor Speedway, putting up money in memory of Ted Christopher, our good buddy TC. And I'll tell you what, here's a guy, Kevin Harvick. Now, Kevin Harvick owns a marketing company, and he does a lot of good with his marketing company. So here's a guy that races Cup making all kinds of money, maybe 7 figures. He doesn't need to do this. But you know what? He didn't forget where he came from. He's giving back. You know that they say you give back to your community? He's giving back to the sport that put him in the position and the lifestyle he's currently in. He didn't have to do that. To him, it's a drop in the bucket, the money he's putting up. I believe it's $500 a race. But, you know, you take 20 races, that's $10,000. Not a lot of money, right? Not to a guy like him. But you know what? What do they say about gifts? It's not what it is, it's the thought that matters. And here's a guy that's doing that. He's thought about this. And I'll tell you what, I'll do whatever I got to do to rearrange my schedule, unless I have a wedding or a funeral, to go to that. And then the wedding, it'll depend on whose it is, and the funeral depends on who it is. But I'd love to see Kevin Harvick run at the Stafford Motor Speedway, the home of the SKs. And it'll be interesting. It'll be real interesting to watch that happen. But anyway, you know, it's when you look at these things and you look at what goes on at these short tracks, I'll tell you what. Track operators, owners, promoters who are involved in this weekly racing series business, they have a short window. Think about it. Let's say they're going from April to September. So what they got, 25 Saturdays? That's 25 operating days out of an available 365. Think about that. Now, that percentage is really small. You're talking less than 10% of available days on a calendar that you got to make your money. You got a rain out, not good. You get 2 rainouts. It's really not good. You got 3 rainouts. You could be in trouble. Because the tax man ain't going to say, well, yeah, you had 3 rainouts, so we'll give you a break. It's not happening. Your insurance company will say, well, you know, you ran 3 less races, so we're going to cut your premium. That's not happening. If there's a threat of weather, the people aren't coming. And if the people aren't coming, they're not spending money at the concession stand. You know, and one track operator, owner, Mark Arute, said to me one day, race cars in the pits equal fannies in the seats. And he's right. Because think about a guy who's traveling a long distance to go to his local racetrack, and there's a threat of weather. It's not in the points. You know what? I'm not going to drive 3 hours, 2 hours, an hour to sit in the rain. So they don't go. So not only does the track lose the driver and the crew's pit fees for the night, which the pit fees, believe it or not, pay the bills. See, the grandstand's the gravy. Ask any track operator. Now the people who would have gone to watch him, they're going to call us, oh, looking at the weather, I don't know, what do you think? I'm not going. So they're not going. The domino effect kicks in, and you have an empty grandstand. And yeah, hats off, boom, I salute the teams that show up on those days. And the teams, when it does rain during the course of the action, that go out and drive their cars and their trucks and whatever they have to an attempt to dry the racetrack. Because that's no easy task sometimes, to keep a racetrack dry, because it's got to be safe. It's got to be dry. They run on slick tires, most of these classes. So the heat from the engines and the exhaust and the tire, and then they drag big tractor tires around. And you know it's dry when the steam comes off of the big tractor tires. And you know, it would be so easy to say, well, folks, it's raining, have a good night. We got whatever it is. Some places it's three events and you get your money back. Sometimes it's 4. It depends on the racetrack. Some it is what it is. Sorry, folks, too bad, so sad. But the cost associated with the fuel and the time to dry a racetrack, you know, I can remember back when I was racing, I can remember being asked, can you bring your car out to dry the racetrack? I used to be so excited. Oh, they asked me, yeah, I'll do it, you know, and I'll be out there. And whatever the fuel was at the time, maybe it was $6 or $7 a gallon when it was like 99 cents on the street, you know, and I'm talking about racing fuel. And you know what? Somebody said that to me one time. So you're wearing out your $100 tires, you know, so it's 400. Now it's like 800 for the same tire. And you're using up your racing fuel. Are they going to give you extra in the purse tonight? I said, well, I did it because I want to race. I want to get my races last. So if we don't get it in and we get curfewed, I spent all this money to sit in my car. So yeah, so we're going to do. And somebody just in the chat room saying that some people are not happy unless they're complaining. And you know, and a person I knew years ago when I was in school, it was a father of a friend of mine. He had a comment, a saying. He goes, you know, you complain about everything, and if you don't have something to complain about, you complain about having nothing to complain about. And I remembered that, and I thought it was kind of funny, but it's not. It's not funny, because that's how people are. They want to complain about things. And I'm going to say it again, like my mom said, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And, you know, make a difference. Make a difference, you know, and if you can make a difference, whether it's for the moment, for the day, for the week, for the month, you know, it's a good thing. But if the difference you're making is negative, that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing at all. Anyway, it's almost time to wrap up, I'm thinking. I'm getting a thumbs up. I don't know if I'm getting a thumbs up because I did a great job tonight or it's time to go. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy schedules tonight to watch the show, be a part of it, participate and chat. And I really do appreciate that. So wherever your endeavors are going to bring you this upcoming week, please be safe, please be careful. Give somebody a hug, tell them you love them. God bless you all, and we'll see you all next week. Good night, everybody.
Inravio.com. Inravio.